Yeah, very good afternoon to one and all. And today's topic is about how to eliminate the ambiguity. And before going to know the concept of how to eliminate the ambiguity here, first initially we need to know what the ambiguous grammar is, right? And what the ambiguous grammar is, you all know what the definition of the ambiguous grammar is. And here what I'm going to explain is how the ambiguous grammar was classified into and what the definition of the ambiguous grammar is, and by briefing out with an example showing some reasons that I'm proving that the given grammar is an ambiguous grammar just by showing some reasons, taking some reasons and proving those reasons, right? And here the ambiguous grammar, here we are learning in a concept eliminating an ambiguity at top-down parsing. What it means is, here we're having a concept of constructing an predictive parser. In the last class, I explained to construct the predictive parsing, what the steps we need to follow for constructing the predictive parsing. First, initially, we need to remove the unreachable codes, and that concept was already explained in the last class. And what the second thing is, eliminating the ambiguity, and the third one is eliminating left recursion, and the fourth one is eliminating left factorial. These are the four most important problems that we need to remove before constructing an predictive parser. And when we are constructing an predictive parser means at the concept of at the step of first and follow functions, there itself we are constructing and starting the construction of predictive parsing, right? And finally we are constructing the parse tree. That means parse tree in the sense parse table. Here we're constructing for the predictive parsing. And before constructing the first and follow functions, we need to do the four steps. And initially the first step was already explained in the last class, and now I am explaining the second step, that is how to eliminate the ambiguity. Here the ambiguous grammar is not desirable in an top down parsing, not desirable in an top down parsing. At the concept of learning what the top down parsing is, there itself I explained there, whatever the grammar we are taking in the form of an input, that grammar should be an unambiguous grammar, it should not be an ambiguous grammar. If you find out that the grammar is an ambiguous, then how to eliminate that ambiguity? That's the question here. And that's what we are what the concept that we are learning now is how to eliminate the ambiguity if the grammar consisting of, right? And we need to remove the ambiguity from the grammar if present. If the grammar does not consisting of an any ambiguous, no need to uh, construct or no need to eliminate the ambiguity procedure. Just take that grammar and do the first and follow, construct the first and follow function itself. And here for removing the ambiguity, where we will apply one rule. What that rule is, and see at the concept of ambiguity in the last class, I there itself explained we're having two properties. One is a left associative property and the second one is a right associative property. Once recall the two concepts. And if the grammar has the left associative property, what it means? Left associative means if consisting of like an plus, star, minus, modulus, all these are all operators. Then if it's such operators, if we find out that we can call it as a left associative operators, and then induce the left recursion. If the grammar has right associativity operators, right associativity operators means here we're taking an example like an exponential operators, and then induce the right recursion, right? These are the two most important properties we are learning at the concept of ambiguous grammar. See here, by knowing what the ambiguous grammar is and how the ambiguous grammar was classified into two types of ambiguous grammars. One is an ambiguous and another one is an unambiguous. And based on these two are divided based on the number of derivation trees. Based on the number of derivation trees, we can define which type of grammar it is, right? And see the structure, all of you, just make a note of this structure, a small representation here. Types of grammars in that ambiguous grammar and unambiguous grammar. And here the first one, that is an ambiguous grammar. And the definition, we already known that a grammar is said to be an ambiguous when we are calling that the grammar is an ambiguous if for any string generated by it, it produces more than one parse tree or more than one derivation tree or more than one syntax tree or more than one leftmost derivation or more than one rightmost derivation. That type of grammar can be called as an ambiguous grammar. Make a note of this. Not only on parse tree, we can take any one of these. If it generates more than one derivation tree, that grammar is an ambiguous grammar. If it generates more than one syntax tree, it is an ambiguous. Generates more than one leftmost derivation, again it is an ambiguous. Generates more than one rightmost derivation, eh, then it can be called as an ambiguous grammar. This is the basic definition of the what the ambiguous grammar is, as we all know. See the example here. See the example, very simple example. With this example, I'm clearly making you to understand how to eliminate the ambiguity. Make a note of this example, all of you. And here consider the grammar. What the grammar is: E tends to E plus C or E star E or ID. See here, the E is an only one variable we are using in this grammar. And this E consisting of three rules. E is deriving three rules, three production rules. One is E plus C, another one is E star E, and the other one is a directly identifier ID, right? And here, by taking some following reasons, we can state that for the given grammar is an ambiguous grammar, just by proving that the given grammar is an ambiguous grammar. By proving that the statement, the grammar is an ambiguous, by seeing some examples, taking the reasons as an examples. See here. And before seeing the reasons and proving that the grammar is an ambiguous grammar, initially you all should know that how to identify just by seeing the grammar, whether the grammar consisting of an ambiguity or not. Here I'm having a grammar, right? By seeing this grammar, how can I identify that is the grammar consisting of an ambiguous or not? Without deriving the derivation trees. See here, we're having a logic. The right hand side variable, here we're having an E. If it appears more than one time at the left hand side, then it can be called as an ambiguity, right? Are you all clear? See here, E is appearing two times at the LHS, and here E is appearing two times at the LHS. It is from the given grammar, not we are writing the grammar. From the given grammar, we're checking out whether it is having any ambiguity or not. How to check that ambiguity? See, the right hand side of the variable E, if the right hand side of the variable E appears at the left hand side more than one time, appears or used more than one time, then that can be called as an ambiguity. See, this rule number 1 is having an ambiguity, rule number 2 is having an ambiguity, but while coming to rule number 3, the rule number 3 does not consisting of any ambiguity. Why? Because E is directly deriving an input string ID, input terminal ID, right? This is an terminal, ID is an terminal, plus star ID are the terminals, and E is directly giving the terminal ID. So for the rule 3, there is no ambiguity. For the rule 1 and 2, we are having the ambiguity. Why? Because this right hand side E is appearing twice times at the left hand side in the both the rules. So we can consider that it is an ambiguous grammar. So now we are proving that by showing the parse tree representation, by showing the syntax tree representation, by deriving the leftmost derivation and the rightmost derivations. See, reason number 1, let us consider the string. What the string is: ID plus ID into ID. Now draw the parse trees for this string from the given grammar. And the parse tree structure consists of starts with the starting symbol of the given grammar and ends with the leaves. Those leaves are the terminals. That means the input string, right? And here the two representations, one parse tree 1 and parse tree 2. Since from the two representations, what we are stating here is two parse trees exist for the string W, for the string like ID plus ID into ID. Therefore, the grammar is ambiguous, right? And see the syntax tree representation. Syntax tree consisting of only the operators and the operands. That means only the terminals. Only the terminals. Syntax tree representation consisting of only the terminals plus ID into ID. ID into ID plus ID. ID into ID, ID plus ID into ID, right? Here we're generating two syntax trees. So since what we are concluding here, the two syntax trees exist for the string W, so therefore the grammar is an ambiguous grammar. And what the reason number 3? Derivation part. Here I am showing the leftmost derivation. See, for the same string, two types of derivations are derived here in a leftmost manner. So finally, from this also we are making a statement that the grammar is an ambiguous. And see the reason number 4. Again, it is a rightmost derivation. For the same string id plus id into id, here we are deriving two rightmost derivation. So finally, what we are concluding here is just the grammar is an ambiguous grammar, right? If the if we generate more than one parse trees, it may be an LMD or RMD, right? It may be an LMD or RMD. Then such type of grammars can be called as an ambiguous grammars. And up to now, we know how the ambiguous grammars are represented in different structures, like in syntax tree structure, like in parse tree structure, and derivation part like in LMD and an RMD. And knowing about what the definition of an ambiguous grammar is, and initially from the given grammar we can identify whether the given grammar consisting of an ambiguity or not. We get the logic there. And now we're seeing the other concept, that is an unambiguous grammar. Now we're converting the ambiguous into unambiguous. That means eliminating the ambiguity from the given grammar. E tends to E plus C, E tends to E star E, E tends to ID. That is the given grammar. There we find out the ambiguity. Now we are modifying the grammar. How we are modifying the grammar? Just we are introducing the new variables, placing the new variable and defining the rule for that variable. Placing the new variable in the already existing variable. In already existing variable, we are placing the new variable and defining the rule for that new variable. That's the thing that we are doing by eliminating the ambiguity. And here we are not following any rules, like any syntax rules or any algorithms. We are not following like that. Just what we are doing here is just the two things we are doing here. See here, again, ambiguous, unambiguous. The reverse of ambiguous is an unambiguous, right? If we produce exactly one parse tree or exactly one derivation tree or exactly one syntax or exactly one leftmost or rightmost, then that type of grammars can be called as an unambiguous grammars. See the example here. This is an unambiguous grammar. Why? Because the right hand side of the variable E does not appears twice times at the LHS, isn't it? And see here in the second rule, t does not appearing twice times on the LHS, right? And E tends to only one E is there in the left hand side, T tends to only one T is there in the left hand side in this rule, and F is directly giving ID. How we convert this, how we modify this? By taking an example like an ambiguity, by taking an example grammar in the form of an ambiguity. How we modify this? Just placing a new variable in the in already existing variable and defining the rule for that variable. See, E tends to E plus C. E tends to E plus C is the actual ambiguity rule. But what I'm doing here, in the second E, I replace an T. I replace an variable T. In which place I replace an T? In the place of E. So I am giving here or T. That means in the place of E, I replace T. Right? And now T is a new variable. And if it comes under a live variable, means I need to define the rule for this. Then only it is a live variable. Otherwise, it becomes a dead variable. So what the next rule in the ambiguity grammar? E tends to E star. E, right? Now that rule totally becomes T tends to T star T. Why? Because we replace the T in the place of E. We replace T in the place of E. The second rule comes under T tends to T star F. Again T tends to T star T. Again that rule is having an ambiguity. Now again I am introducing a new variable like an F in the place of the second T. F. And In which place I replace this? In the place of t. That's why I'm giving a rule like t or f. T or f. T tends to f. Means in the place of this t, I replace the new variable f. Right. So I am writing the rule like t or f. Is it clear, all of you? And now f is an new variable. Now to make it as a live variable, we need to define the rule for this f. And finally, in the place of e, that e becomes t. Now that t becomes an f. Right. Then finally, this comes under an unambiguous grammar. Most important simple example about an ambiguity, how to eliminate the ambiguity in an top-down approach. Very important concept, this one. Are you all clear about this? Are you all clear about this? Again, I'm repeating how to eliminate the ambiguity. See, I'm going to slide here. This is an ambiguity grammar, right? This is an ambiguity grammar, right? And taking the rule number one, E tends to E plus E. I need to eliminate this ambiguity. What I am doing here, I'm placing an T in the place of this E. T in the place of this E. And to make you to understand in which variable I use the new variable, in which existing variable I use the new variable. For that purpose, I am writing or T. Then this rule comes under E tends to E plus T or T. And what the second rule? After naming that E tends to T, after replacing the variable T in the place of E, then this becomes T into T. Now the rules are T tends to T into T, T tends to F. Right. And now take T tends to T into T. And in the place of this one, in the place of this T, here we're having an T. In the place of this T, I am using a new variable F. To make us to understand, in which already existing variable we replace a new variable. For the understanding purpose, we are using like or F. Means in the place of T, I replace F. Right. See here, in the place of E, I replace T. Now it becomes T star F or F. Then finally, T tends to ID there, and it becomes an F. F tends to ID. This is an unambiguous rule. This is an unambiguous rule. This is an unambiguous rule. Then finally, the total grammar is an unambiguous grammar. Right? I think you clearly understand now. Make a note of this. Please do the conversion from ambiguity to unambiguity by understanding the concept. Then you can clearly understand how we eliminate the ambiguity from the given grammar, how we're making it as an unambiguous, right? And here, the most important point, note one thing, that the grammar is unambiguous. Now this grammar is an unambiguous grammar, but it is left recursive. And elimination of such left recursion is again must. What it means is, now we're going to the next step. We're going to learn the next step. That means eliminating left recursion. See here, eliminating left recursion. And now we are going to learn about the concept of what the recursion is. And here we get an unambiguous grammar. Note down this grammar, and for this grammar we are performing the elimination. That means we are eliminating the left recursion. Note down this one. Note down this grammar, all of you. Make a note of this grammar. Then for this grammar only we are learning the next concept. How to eliminate the left recursion. And here the concept is about a recursion, and what the definition of the recursion is, how the recursion is classified into, and about left recursion and the elimination of the left recursion and the example. These are the concepts in the recursion. And what the definition of recursion is, recursion in the name itself, it is what we are doing here, how we are performing the recursion. Recursion, what it means, recursion is nothing but the process or a procedure goes through when one of the steps of the procedure involves in invoking the procedure itself. When you will get to understand this sentence, the definition of the recursion means by learning this concept with an structure and along with the example, then you clearly understand what the meaning of this line is. And what the recursion is the process, a procedure that goes through when one of the steps of the procedure involves in invoking the procedure itself. Means you all know what the meaning of recursion is. Recursion is nothing but an making and loops. What it mean making and loops? In the sense entering into the infinite loop, that we can call it as an recursion. Recursively we are entering into an infinite loop, means we are creating the loops there, right? And here the recursion is classified into two types. One is an left recursion and another one is an right recursion. Here in this concept of top down parser, we are going to learn about how to eliminate the left recursion, and this recursion is classified into left and right recursions. According to our top down parser, we are eliminating only left recursion. See here, we're having a structure. Structure in the sense, here we're having a grammar rule. A tends to A alpha or beta is a given grammar. A tends to A alpha or beta is a given grammar. And with this grammar, with the given grammar, what we are doing? We're constructing or we're deriving an input sentence. We're deriving an input sentence. How see the derivation there, how the representation looks like? Here A tends to is nothing but an deriving the input in one or more steps. A is nothing but an non-terminal, and what the alpha denotes, alpha is some input string. And here if left recursion is present in the grammar, then it creates a serious problem. Make a note of this. If the left recursion presents in the grammar, then it creates some serious problems. Because of left recursion, the top-down parsers and can enter into an infinite loop. See here, see the representation here, the derivation path from the root node of the given grammar, that is an A. What we are deriving? A, we are substituting A alpha, again we are using A alpha, again we are using A alpha. What it means is expansion of A causes further expansion of A only and due to generation of A. That means what we are getting there, A alpha, A alpha alpha, A alpha alpha alpha, and so on. What it means is the input pointer will not be advanced there. The input pointer will not get advanced, and this causes the major problem in top-down parsing. And so therefore this is the reason to eliminate the left recursion. So we decided that the elimination of the left recursion is a must and should process. To eliminate the left recursion, what we need to do is we need to modify the given grammar. How to modify the given grammar? See, we are having the syntax of this. Alpha 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 alpha. What it means is finally it was deriving an input sentence like an beta alpha star. Why? Because A is giving the two rules. A tends to A alpha or beta, and somewhere I need to stop this. Somewhere I need to end the loop. So I use an beta, but the expansion of A is continue like this. So finally, with an input sentence like an beta alpha star, we are defining this, right? Beta alpha star is having an major problem. What the problem is? Entering the top down parsing into an infinite loop. So to eliminate that problem, what we need to do? And taking this one, this is the given grammar. A tends to A alpha or beta. Make a note of this one. This is the syntax rule of the left recursion. You need to know what the syntax of the left recursion, then only you can eliminate that. Without knowing the syntax, without knowing the format, in which format the left recursion is, we can't do anything. So make a note of this. A tends to A alpha or beta. If the grammar looks like this, if the grammar in the sense, in the grammar, if the production looks like this, in the given grammar, if the production looks like this, then we can easily identify that production consisting of an left recursive problem. Like this means the right hand side of the variable and the first appearing variable on the left hand side should be same, like this. A tends to A. After tends to whatever the thing that was appearing, that should be same as the variable on the RHS, right? Make a note of this. A tends to A, E tends to E, T tends to T. Then that such type of rules are having the recursion problem. So to eliminate that, we need to modify the given grammar. Modifying is a must and should to eliminate. In which productions we are modifying, in which type of productions that we are modifying. That means to make it as a finite loop, what the productions that we are using, that means what the syntax rules that we are using for eliminating the left recursion. If the rule is in the form of A tends to A alpha or beta, then modify that rule into A tends to beta A dash. A dash is a new variable, right? And defining A dash tends to alpha A dash or epsilon. Make this one. This is a modified grammar for the given grammar A tends to A alpha or beta. And here we are having a reason, and it creates an infinite loop. To eliminate the creating of an infinite loop, making to enter into an infinite loop, we're changing or we're modifying the given grammar into these two rules. Make a note of this. And now let us see with an example. See here, and this example is an unambiguous example, right? The first rule in the unambiguous example, E tends to E plus T or T. And here, by seeing the rule E tends to E plus T or T, I can easily identify that my production rule in the given grammar consisting of the left recursion. How? A tends to A, E tends to E, right? A tends to A. Mapping the syntax rule, mapping the grammar of the left recursion. That is a syntax grammar that we need to map here. See this. Make a note of this. If the grammar, if the production in the given grammar looks like this, then you should convert, or by eliminating the left recursion, you need to change the rule into these two rules. Means A tends to A, like that. E tends to E. So this rule is consisting of an left recursion. Now I am eliminating this. Eliminating by mapping the syntax with this. By mapping the syntax with the production rule, E tends to E plus T or T. A tends to A, and the remaining thing is an alpha, or it is an beta. And substitute what the A is, what beta is, what A dash is. A is nothing but an E here. E tends to what beta is T, and E dash E dash, and E dash is alpha. What the alpha here from the production? Plus T, and A dash. There in the syntax it is an A, but mapping with the production in the grammar it is an E. E dash, A dash, both are same variables. E dash or epsilon, right? In such a way, we need to eliminate the left recursion for the productions in the given grammar, right? Take the second rule. T tends to T star F for F. T tends to T star F for F. T tends to T. That rule is also consisting of a left recursion. Why? Because T tends to T. See here. For the rule 1, we modify it. By eliminating. And see the rule 2, T tends to T. Again, this is also a left recursion. Again, this rule consisting of a left recursion problem. Now eliminate the left recursion for the rule 2. And mapping with the syntax of the grammar of left recursion, A tends to A. The into F is an alpha, F is an beta. Now, how the rules are to be after modifying the second rule, what the rules are to be? T tends to F T dash. T tends to F T dash. T dash tends to star F T dash or epsilon, right? And see, for the rule 1, we are getting 2 rules. For the rule 2, we are getting 2 rules. 2 in the sense 3 rules. Here also we are having 2 rules. E is deriving 2 rules, defining 2 rules. And from these 2, we are getting an 3 rules. And for the second rule, T tends to T star F for F, there also we are getting 3 rules. And see the grammar. F tends to ID. F is directly deriving or defining an ID. This rule does not consisting of any left recursive problem. So directly we are writing F tends to ID. So finally we are getting, after eliminating the left recursion from this grammar, finally we are getting 7 rules. 7 rules. That is the modified grammar after eliminating the left recursion. Right. This is a modified grammar after eliminating ambiguity, and this is taking, this grammar consisting of an left recursion. So this is taking as an input, and we are eliminating the left recursive problem for this grammar, and finally we are generating the modified grammar. That means finally we are defining the modified grammar in an 7 rules. Right? Is it clear, all of you? Most important concept, how to eliminate the left recursion. This syntax is most important. If you does not remember this syntax, you will get some errors in eliminating the procedure, eliminating the left recursion process. Make a note of this, make a note of this syntax. If the grammar is in the form of, if the production is in the form of like this in the given grammar, then how to eliminate the left recursion? Just the modifying the rule with these two, productions, then we can eliminate the left recursion. Right? Is it clear? So finally, we can call it as a redefined or modified. We can call it as any terminologies. We can call it by any terminologies. We can eliminate the left recursion by introducing the new variables and new production rules. See here, we're having an, see, note down this example. Note down this example. All of you, note down this example and eliminate the, is the example consisting of left recursion? See, check it by rule. E tends to E, having an left recursive problem. But E tends to, is it E tends to T star F? E tends to T star F. Here the, I think the grammar is an wrong grammar. Why? Because this is an T tends to T star F or F. F tends to open parenthesis E closed parenthesis or ID. And here in the place of this E you use T. T tends to T star F. And note down this grammar and do the elimination process by using this syntax of the grammar and the rules of this, the modified rules of this grammar. Then you can clearly understand. This is the final modified grammar. This is the final modified grammar after eliminating the left recursive problem. Right. F tends to it is an terminal, or F tends to ID. These two rules does not consisting of any recursive problem. So directly we are writing that rule. For the rule 1 and rule 2, it is having the problem. E tends to E. Here T, it is T. Make a correction there. T tends to T. So for this rule, we are having a recursive problem. So for this rule number 1, we need to eliminate the left recursion. For rule number 2, we need to eliminate the left recursion. Finally, we are getting 3 from rule 1 and 3 from rule 2. This is not E. This is an epsilon. Make a note. This is an epsilon. This is an epsilon. And 6, and these are the 7 and 8. Finally, we are having 8 rules. Right? Is it clear, all of you? And this is the most important concept, one of the most important concept in problems with top-down parsing. We can call it as a first problem in top-down parsing. Left recursion is one of the problem with top-down parsing. In this class I explained you how to eliminate the left recursion. If the grammar consisting of any left recursion problem, then we can easily eliminate by using the syntax of the grammar with this. by using the just by mapping the grammar with this syntax and changing or modifying the rule with these two production rules. Right? And this is the concept about how to eliminate left recursion. And in today's class, I explained you what the ambiguous is and how the ambiguous is classified into, and what the reasons that we are showing in the sense we are proving by showing that it is an ambiguous grammar. And with that reasons, finally we proved that it is an ambiguous grammar for the given context free grammar. And finally I explained you that how to eliminate the ambiguity and how to make the grammar as an unambiguous grammar. And for that unambiguous grammar, I also explained about the concept how to eliminate the left recursion, right? And whatever the grammar we are taking to do all this, it should be an unambiguous grammar. To do all this in the sense to eliminate the recursive problem, or to eliminate an left factorial, or to construct the first and follow functions, for everything the grammar should be in an unambiguous format. So the finally what the grammar we are taking, it is a context free grammar, and it should be an precise and unambiguous. Make a note, it should be an precise and unambiguous. In the next class, I'm going to explain about the other problem, that is a left factorial.